Hi, Jenni here, and I'm pretty much checked out from reading this year. I've read over 70 books, which is more than I've ever read within a year, and I'm gonna continue reading on like Christmassy types of books, but I'm like checked out. My brain cannot read any more intense texts. So, I'm already looking into the next year. Here are the books that I definitely want to read in 2026, and a year from now, I will make a video seeing how I did reacting to this video. The first one is the one that I absolutely need to, and I will be mad at myself if I don't, but I will not be mad at myself because I will definitely read this finally. Orientalism by Edward Said. I actually started reading this at one point a couple of years ago, but then I got a job and I got too busy with preparing materials and lesson plans that I just couldn't focus on this book back then. So this is obviously a monumental, important work from Edward Said. As it says on the back cover, in this highly acclaimed work, Edward Said surveys the history and nature of Western attitude towards the East, considering Orientalism as a powerful European ideological creation, a way for writers, philosophers, and colonial administrators to deal with the otherness of Eastern culture, customs, and beliefs. I just know that this will be amazing and educational. I will read this book this year. The next book is The Mill on the Floss by George Eliot. This has been on my shelf for a really, really long time, and I was actually considering giving it away at one point, but then I couldn't because look at this cover. How stunning. My friend Aure and I have decided to have this book as our next buddy read. Obviously, we read Middlemarch by George Eliot and absolutely loved it, and I'm sure it will be very valuable to read this with a friend. This is inspired by George Eliot's own childhood. Maggie's often tormented battle to do her duty and belong on the one hand and to be herself, wild and natural on the other, propels her from one crisis to another. Middlemarch was an incredible reading experience, and I have very high hopes for this one as well. Next up, I'm gonna try to read more Angela Y. Davis. I've only read one book from her. I have watched many of her interviews, but I feel like I need to read more of her work in book format. I have two books from her. One is her autobiography, and then Abolition Feminism Now, which was written by Angela Y. Davis, Gina Dent, Erica R. Miners, and Beth E. Ritchie. Hopefully I will read both of these, but I especially want to read this one because I feel like it will teach me and educate me on topics that I'm not well versed on. And also this book looks into her life, obviously, and I want to know more of her like thoughts and opinions on different times that she has gone through. So yes, hoping to read more Angela Y. Davis. Next up is the book that I think I'm gonna read the first in the new year is Dina Elgenadis or Elgenadis, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong, Dust Settles North. This is about young Egyptian people. The flight from New York to Cairo is long, longer still for the two siblings on a journey to bury their mother. When they discover their father's unforgivable betrayal, what's left of their family crumbles. Hannah gives up on her spot at Columbia Law to remain in Egypt, where she navigates romantic entanglements and a new culture. Back in America, Zane's self-destructive behavior begins to catch up with him, leaving him to wonder whether he's any different from his father. This sounds like a book that I will really very much enjoy, and I can't wait to meet these characters. I also have a bunch of books by Finnish authors that I really want to read. Two of them are here, Hayati Rakkaani, Hayati My Beloved by Amani Almensen. And this is a love story between two people who cannot be together, if I've understood correctly. And then Kenelle maa kuuluu by Sara Al-Hussaini. How do I translate this? To whom does the land belong to? And this is about two female characters, Zainab, who is in Baghdad, and then Leila, who has lived in Malmö for a really long time, but is of Iraqi background. So those are very contemporary books, but then I also have two historical fiction, Blanka Itämeren tytär, which translates to Blanka, the daughter of the Baltic Sea by Ulla Rask. This is about the main character Blanka, who lives in the 1600s, and honestly I don't remember much from this, but it discusses like these Hansa towns around the Baltic Sea, sailing around those cities, and a history of that time from the perspective of this character. I'm excited to read this. And then Liisa Suomala, Kaikki päättyy kevääseen, everything ends in spring, I think. And this is based on an island that's off of the shore of Oulu. It's called Hailuoto. It discusses trauma after war and this kind of tightly knit community in Hailuoto, and how does it look like from an outsider's perspective and all that. I listened to this author talk at a book fair that was held here, and I was very intrigued by it. Alright, so those were some of my hopes for the next year's reading. I think out of all of this, Orientalism by Edward Said is like the number one book that I have to read. Then Mill on the Floss, then Angela White Davis. Everything else I really hope I get to as well, but I don't hold as much pressure on myself to read them as for the first books. Alright, what are you going to read next year? Let me know in the comments below. Yeah, happy December. Can't wait to share more bookish videos with you. I took a week's break because I was in Helsinki last week to see Sara Larsson, so I didn't have time to film a video, so sorry about that. I hope you enjoyed this quick little video. See you in the next one. Bye!